in which growing maturity rekindles the relationship between one pair of lovers, and self-absorption carries another pair to the brink of death. Chapter 6. Alexei Alexandrovich had won a brilliant victory at the meeting of the Commission on August 17th, but the consequences of that victory crippled him. The new Commission for the investigation into all aspects of the life of the racial minorities was appointed and sent to the scene with extraordinary swiftness and energy, inspired by Alexei Alexandrovich. 3 months later, a report was presented. The life of the minorities was investigated in its political, administrative, economic, ethnographic, material, and religious aspects. All questions were furnished with excellent answers, and answers not open to doubt, since they were not the product of human thought, which is always subject to error, but were the products of institutional activity. The answers were all the result of official data, the reports of governors and bishops, based on the reports of regional superiors and vicars, based for their part on the reports of local officials and parish priests. And therefore all these answers were indubitable. All the questions, for instance, about why there were crop failures, why the populations clung to their beliefs, and so on, questions that would not and could not be resolved for centuries without the convenience of the institutional machine, now received a clear and indubitable resolution. The results were in favor of Alexei Alexandrovich's opinion, but when the reports of the commission were received, Stremov, feeling himself cut to the quick at the last meeting, employed a tactic that Alexei Alexandrovich did not expect. Drawing several other members with him, he suddenly went over to Alexei Alexandrovich's side, and not only hotly defended the carrying out of the measures suggested by Karenina, but offered additional measures, extreme ones, in the same spirit. These measures, intensified far beyond Alexei Alexandrovich's fundamental idea, were accepted, and then Stremov's tactic was revealed. These measures, carried to an extreme, suddenly proved to be so stupid that statesmen and public opinion and intelligent ladies and the newspapers all fell upon them at one and the same time, voicing their indignation both at the measures themselves and at their acknowledged father, Alexei Alexandrovich. Stremov then withdrew, pretending he had only been blindly following Karenina's plan, and now was himself surprised and indignant at what had been done. This crippled Alexei Alexandrovich, but in spite of declining health, in spite of family woes, he did not give in. A split occurred in the commission. Some members, with Stremov at their head, justified their mistake by their trust in the inspection commission directed by Alexei Alexandrovich, which had presented the report, and said that the report of this commission was nonsense and nothing but waste paper. Alexei Alexandrovich, with a party of people who saw the danger of such a revolutionary attitude towards official papers, continued to support the data provided by the inspection commission. As a result, everything became confused in higher spheres and even in society, and despite great interest on everyone's part, no one could make out whether the minorities were flourishing or were actually in need and perishing. Alexei Alexandrovich's position, as a result of that and partly as a result of the scorn that fell on him owing to his wife's infidelity, became quite shaky, and in that position Alexei Alexandrovitch took an important decision. He announced to the surprise of the commission that he would request permission to go personally to investigate the matter on the spot. And, having received permission, Alexei Alexandrovitch set out for the distant provinces. Alexei Alexandrovitch's departure caused a great stir, the more so as, at his departure, he officially returned under receipt the traveling money allotted him for 12 horses to take him to his destination. "I find it very noble," Betsy said of it to Princess Miyagi. "Why provide for post horses when everyone knows there are railways everywhere now?" But Princess Miyagi disagreed, and Princess Verskoy's opinion even vexed her. "It's all very well for you to talk," she said, "since you have I don't know how many millions, but I like it very much when my husband goes inspecting in the summer. It's very healthy and pleasant for him to ride around, and I make it a rule that the money goes for keeping a coach and a coachman." On his way to the distant provinces, Alexei Alexandrovitch stopped for 3 days in Moscow. The day after his arrival, he went to visit the Governor-General. At the intersection of Gazetny Lane, where there is always a crowd of carriages and cabs, Alexei Alexandrovitch suddenly heard his name called out in such a loud and merry voice that he could not help turning around. On the corner pavement, in his short, fashionable coat, with his short, fashionable hat cocked to one side, the gleam of a white-toothed smile between his red lips, merry, young, and beaming, stood Stepan Arkadyevitch, resolutely and insolently shouting and demanding that he stop. He was holding on with one hand to the window of a carriage that had stopped at the corner, out of which peered a woman's head in a velvet hat, and 2 children's heads, and was smiling and beckoning to his brother-in-law with the other hand. The lady smiled a kindly smile, and also waved her hand to Alexei Alexandrovitch. It was Dolly, with the children. Alexei Alexandrovitch did not want to see anyone in Moscow, least of all his wife's brother. He raised his hat and was about to drive on, but Stepan Arkadyevitch told his coachman to stop, and ran to him across the snow. "How wicked of you not to send word! Have you been here long? And I was at the Dusat yesterday and saw Karenina on the board, and it never occurred to me that it was you," said Stepan Arkadyevitch, thrusting his head inside the carriage. "Otherwise I'd have called on you. I'm so glad to see you," he said, knocking one foot against the other to shake off the snow. "How wicked of you not to let us know," he repeated. "I had no time. I'm very busy," Alexei Alexandrovitch replied dryly. "Let's go to my wife. She wants so much to see you." Alexei Alexandrovitch removed the rug in which his chill-prone legs were wrapped, and, getting out of the carriage, made his way over the snow to Darya Alexandrovna. "What is it, Alexei Alexandrovitch? Why do you avoid us like this?" Dolly said, smiling sadly. "I've been very busy. Very glad to see you," he said in a tone which showed clearly that he was upset by it. "How are you?" "And how is my dear Anna?" Alexei Alexandrovitch mumbled something and was about to leave, but Stepan Arkadyevitch stopped him. "Here's what we'll do tomorrow. Dolly, invite him for dinner. We'll invite Koznishev and Petsov, and treat him to the Moscow intelligentsia." "Yes, please do come," said Dolly. "We'll expect you at 5. 6, if you like. Well, how is my dear Anna? It's so long since—" "She's well," Alexei Alexandrovitch mumbled, frowning. "Very glad to see you," and he made for his carriage. "Will you come?" Dolly called out. Alexei Alexandrovitch said something that Dolly could not make out in the noise of moving carriages. "I'll drop in tomorrow," Stepan Arkadyevitch called to him. Alexei Alexandrovitch got into his carriage and sank deep inside, so as not to see or be seen. "An odd bird," Stepan Arkadyevitch said to his wife, and, looking at his watch, made a gesture in front of his face signifying love for his wife and children, and went off jauntily down the pavement. "Steva! Steva!" Dolly called out, blushing. He turned. "I have to buy coats for Grisha and Tanya. Give me some money." "Never mind. Tell them I'll pay." And he disappeared, nodding gaily to an acquaintance driving by. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.